Hey folks, Morris McCann here. I want to take just a couple of minutes to talk about fire steels with you. Um, I get a lot of questions from people asking, what should I buy, what size, what brand, yada, yada, yada. So I'm going to do a comparison between two. But before I get started, um, if you're new at fire making and using a fire steel, something like a 6 or 8 inch by 5/8, just a big old honking fire steel, you can really pour the sparks off of it, helps you get a fire started easier. I don't like them that big just because I carry fire steels in my pocket, and so I try to keep them more down to the like 3 inch by 3/8, whatever. I think that's what these are, but anyway, pretty close to these size because I can put a lanyard on it, loop it through my belt loop with a lark's head, and just drop it down my pocket. And I don't have to worry about losing my fire steel. I don't use any kind of clip device, or I don't like anything like that. If I've got my fire steel with me, I want it on a lanyard looped either through my belt or through my belt loop and then down in my pocket. I don't mind taking that extra couple of seconds to undo the lark's head and take it off of my belt, okay? So, I think we get in too big of a hurry. And I've seen a lot of people use the little clips. A lot of the top-notch bushcrafters out there do, but the less working parts on anything I like better. So anyway, I'm going to do a comparison between the two fire steels that I've used through the years mostly, and that is the Mora, and this is just like the replacement that comes with your Mora Bushcraft Black kit. It's got the sheath with the sharpening stone and the fire steel holder. I use these and anytime I can pick them up, especially when they're on sale, I buy these little cheapy Coghlans. And these are not bad fire steels. The downfall to these is the handle is not on very. Almost every one of them you buy or that I've bought, you can just wiggle it around a little bit and end up popping it off. These Moras, they're on. They're a little bit more of a rubbery texture than they're not quite as hard and brittle feeling as these. So what I always do is, as soon as I buy one of these Coghlans or Coghlans, I've heard it said both ways. You can probably see it there, but I glue it. I get epoxy glue and I just glue it and set it up, and it seems to do pretty good. I've had a couple of them come loose after gluing them, but then I redid my mixture on my epoxy and they seem to work fine. So yes, if you buy a Coghlans, be sure to wiggle the handle around, and if it's loose at all, wiggle it till it pops off and glue it in, then start using it. But really, they're not bad fire steels. The trick to a fire steel, in many cases, is the striker. Now, the striker that comes with those Coghlans are these ugly little hindrance things, and they don't work very well, but you can touch them up on a grinder and actually put a rough edge on them and they'll work just fine. I don't like them because they're just a little bit bulky. So what I try to do is I just dig around and find, like, now I don't, this one here I'm going to cut off shorter, okay? This is an old Sawzall blade. I'm going to cut it off to about right here. And maybe make 2 strikers out of it, drill another hole in this one. But this made a great striker. It really just throws the sparks. And then the one that I carry in my bug out bag, I guess you could say everyday carry bag. I can find it here. I don't know what this is, but I touched it up just a little bit. It's got a little hole on it where you can put it on a lanyard if you want to. Works great. So I want to step outside here and give you a demonstration of how using I think I gave $2.99 for this one, and these Moras are $14, $15. I can tell they are a tad better as far as the metal goes, but really, I could get by with either one just as well. I do trust the handles on this better on the Moras than I do on the Coghlans or Coghlans, however they say it. So let's step outside and we'll do a comparison. But a lot of times it's just in your striker. If you don't have a very good striker, you're going to have a hard time with any fire steel. So we'll step out here and take a look. So I tuned into YouTube this morning and watched a fella do a demonstration of his Coghlan because I didn't know whether to call him Coghlan or Coghlin. I heard it pronounced both ways, so I'm going to call it Coghlan. That's what I've always went by. It's Coghlan. So I'm going to use their stock their stock striker that I've touched up on a grinder. So this is the Coghlan Fire Steel with the stock striker. Works fine. Now let's compare it to the Mora, which I know is made of a little bit better steel, I'm sure, but not a whole lot of difference. And just because I'm using a good striker, you know, I've got my homemade ones here too, or one of them. Oh, there's two of them. Here's the one I got to cut in half. So I got to find just the right spot to, there we go. This is a good striker. Made out of an old Sawzall blade. I'll cut this one in half and drill another hole and make 2 strikers out of it. But so as you can see, good sparks, really a better striker than the Coghlans. But when I compare the Coghlans Fire Steel against the Mora with my homemade striker, just not a lot of difference. Almost zero, just because I have a good striker. So goes to show it's not always a fire steel. You can have a really good fire steel and a horrible striker. You're not going to do very well. And so there you go. If you have Coghlan fire steels, don't chunk them, don't throw them away, don't let anybody shame you. Just make sure that you glue that handle on well, get you a really good striker, and I think you're good to go. I still use these. You know, I like to buy these Moras like 2 at a time. So I've got several of them. I've got a lot of fire steels. So I always just try to keep a big collection. If somebody needs one, needs to borrow one, or they're in dire straits and just need one, I can give them away. I always just give away the cheap ones. But I would fare just as well with this Coghlans as I would with this Mora, just as long as I have a good striker. Now, granted, I don't use a striker that much. I usually use my knife. And I have all my knives 90'd off. Even my Mora Classic is 90'd off, so it makes for a good striker. Again, less working parts. I like to carry as little as I have to carry out in the woods. So anything that can be dual purpose, that's what I use. So anyway, oh, another thing too is I have a fire steel in the house. I should have brought it out. That is actually a Coghlans blank put into a Mora handle. I wore out one of my Mora fire steels, wore it plumb down. So I put it on the vise and worked it out. It took a lot of work, but I got it worked out of there, and I put the Coghlans in, and it's been holding just fine. So there you go. It's all in the striker, folks. So hope this helps you. I think I'm going to start doing more of these videos of just my everyday experience with things, what I use, what I don't use, and just things that have worked for me or have not worked for me. I'll share with you, maybe head you off of a hard time or disaster in the woods. Just don't take anything out there and try it for the first time. Always test your products. So anyway, there is my comparison between the Coghlans and the Mora Fire Steel. And take it for what it's worth. You guys have fun out there in the woods. Hope to see you on the trail someday. Be blessed. Talk to you later. Morse McCann out.